All right, so the time has finally come. I have purchased an Ender 3, and in this case, actually the Ender 3 Pro. Now, in the past, I've always gone for the little bit bigger bed of like the TiVo Tornado or the CR10 series or CR10 Pro in my case. I like that little bit bigger build volume, and for the value, this was sort of hovering around $250, $270. Recently, now they're coming about $240. Still a good value, but Micro Center actually had these for $200, which I thought was just absolutely irresistible for a 3D printer. Pretty much everybody knows that this is a really reliable printer. It prints really well, and again, especially if you're doing like smaller items, this is really great. So we're going to go through a whole unboxing of this. We're going to do a full assembly of this. We're going to do tuning of this printer. We're going to go through some basic Cura settings to get this printing really well, and we're going to do some test prints. So that's what we're going to do. But you know what? Here's the thing. While I was at Micro Center, they also had the V2 Ender 3, and I could not resist actually getting both of these. So this one was actually on sale. It was for $260, so it's a little bit more, but it does have a lot of nice features, and I think some of these features will start becoming mainstream for almost all 3D printers. So I thought we'd give this a go as well. So I'll do a full unboxing of this probably next week. We're going to do a full assembly. We're going to do a side-by-side comparison, and I'm going to give you my ideas on what I thought is actually the better printer. But for now, we're just going to worry about the Ender 3 Pro. So, are you guys ready? All right, let's see what we got here. All right, it's got a nice little piece of foam here. All right. Get rid of all this stuff. All right, looks like we have the, this is the warranty. Baggies here, let's put these out. Oh, there's the control board there. Let's just set that aside. All right. We have some aluminum extrusion. No, here's the, this is the X-axis bracket for the X-axis there, and for the Z going up and down. All right, so that looks nicely. Everything's really packed well. I'm actually pretty impressed by this. This looks like it could definitely take a drop off a truck and be all right. All right, looks like we get the power supply here. Now this is one of the things I really did think was a great value about this. You actually get the Meanwhile power supply in here, and these are actually really pretty nice. So, oh, that's nice. Okay. And what else does this come out? I think this is the chassis here, so let's go ahead and pull this out. And I'm just going to scoot this over here. Okay. So we got a little bit of accessories here. This is the power. We got a scraper. Power cable, huh? This was the spool holder there. This is the accessory baggie. You tend to get all the little nuts and bolts, all the tools, the belts. All right, it looks like there's a pair of cutters in there. We get I guess enough filament to do maybe a benchy, if that. Some brackets there. All right, some extra parts. All right. And this looks like a little more aluminum extrusion. This looks like the uprights. Oh, look at that. Nicely tucked inside there to protect it from getting bent. I love that. That's the actual Z-rod there. That's clever. That's a good way to do that. Because those do tend to get bent up in shipping. This is the other part of the spool holder. It goes on here like this. Yeah, like this. And we've got the, oh, there's the Z stepper. Nice, so it's got that already hooked up. And this is the, for the Carriage, the X-axis. This is the bracket that goes on the other side of the Z-rod. So that's good. And then this is pretty much, that's it. All right, so that is the unboxing. Well, not fully. All right, let's get this out. Now this, let's be careful here. Now I'm kind of curious if they keep this, if this comes completely adjusted. I would doubt it does, but we'll find out. All right, we got a little parts and bits and bits. I think so. All right. Actually, this is really well packed. Look at this carriage here. Yeah, really well packaged. I feel like it could take a good hit on the box or two, and you'd still be okay. So I'm just looking and checking out the eccentric nuts on the y-axis here in the bed, and actually, it's not too bad. It is a little loose. I can feel it right there. There's a little bit of, I don't know if you can see that, the vibration there. So we'll go in and do that, but let's check that out. Yeah, this is nice. All the wiring is here. It's pretty assembled. Yeah, and this is the that magnetic bed, which this will be new for me. Yeah, that's kind of cool. Ooh, that thing really has some stick too. Nice. I'm really curious to use that. That's actually one of the features that I was really curious about. I have quite a few printers, and this seems to be sort of like the new thing, that we're going to have a magnetic build surface, or the Wham Bam, or something like that. So maybe something I'll be upgrading in the future to my other printers. Okay, so let's go ahead and find the manual here, which I guess is this. Warranty. Okay. Oh, there's the assembly manual. Okay, this little tiny thing. All right, that's kind of surprising to me, but all right. So yeah. So anyways, I'll go back to this. This was sort of the this is the after sales service card and the warranty. All right, and then this was one of those CR codes that pops you into, I guess, their website. All right, so nice. And it looks like you get a little, is that a sticker? That's just a little certificate there. Okay. All right. Now, assembly manual here. Okay. All right. There we go. All right, so it's got the list of parts and a series of steps to go through. Looks like 12 steps. So what I'll do is I'll do this one step at a time. We'll go ahead and break it down by step 1, step 2, step 3, and that way if you're having trouble on that, you can just zip to it. Yeah, this looks great. Okay. All right, sorry about that. I just wanted to organize everything a little bit better. As you're pulling it out, I wanted to be sure I had enough and was able to lay it out in a nice way that we'll be able to see everything and be able to get to everything in an easy fashion. Okay, so first thing here, I put the magnetic build plate back on, and we definitely will need to adjust a few things here. But I am noticing from the factory here that this is actually wobbling a little bit, and that tells me that the frame is not straight, which I think is a weird. Doesn't make me feel really assured coming from the factory that these aren't even, the frame isn't actually straight. So, and I do know that this is a perfectly flat surface. I've checked it many times before. So, yeah, so we're a little off here. So that means we're probably going to need to come in here to start off, and let's go ahead. We're going to loosen up the frame, I guess that's an H extrusion here, the 40 by 40 extrusion. We're going to loosen that up and see if we can sort of level this thing out before we even get started. And let's just see where my hardware is. I believe that's all in here, all the bolts and nuts. Okay. Perfect. All right, so this is the goodie bag here, which is going to have all your hardware, but what I'm looking for right now is just the tools. All right, so we'll get to all this in a few moments. But yeah, we have basically the baggie here has got the T-nuts, it's got all the bolts, little caps, it's got the belts in here, and of course this was the all the little wrenches and Allen keys that we need, a couple zip ties, and I guess I'm going to assume that that's probably the filament cutters here. I'll probably get rid of that. I actually have quite a few of these at this point now, which is nice. Come on. All right. Yeah, film pouch. Oh, those are nice. Some nice rubber handles. Okay, perfect. All right. Put that. So we don't actually need that for a little while. Okay. So this is what we're looking for here, and let's see if there's actually a Allen key. This could be it here. So you can see there we've got all the wrenches and stuff. Hopefully this one here will work on the chassis. Yep, it does. Okay, so we're going to loosen these up. Actually, they're not super tight to begin with. So I don't know if this is just something you're supposed to do. It doesn't really say anything. Looking in the instructions here, it doesn't really say anything about leveling this out, which I think is probably really important. And this is a must do. Loosen these up here. All right, do the same on this side. So we're just loosening that up, and at this point I should probably just be able to push, and that should level it out, which I think that has. Let's put a little weight here, and that looks like it has stabilized everything, so that's good. I'm just going to lightly snug these down, just to start. We're going to get lightly snugged, and then we'll come in and we'll tighten them down fully. But we want to be sure that we're not putting too much tension on one, and that's actually creating a twist on the other side. We want to. Okay, and I'm just going to turn it diagonal. Be sure it's still stable. Turning it around. Yep, it's perfect. Okay, good. All right. Now we're going to go ahead and tighten these down. And with the way most Allen, the way you should be tightening up these Allen bolts is you're going to usually turn it till it's basically stops, all right? And then you're just going to go a little bit more, maybe a 1/16 of a turn more, just a little more, and then that should be secure. You don't want to strip these. So like if a natural turning here, it sort of stops there, and I'm just going to give it a little bit extra turn. And then I'm going to do these on the diagonal, so meaning I'm going to go from this upper right one down here to the lower left. Okay, I'm going to tighten till it stops, and then just a little bit more. I'm going to go to the other side, the diagonal. There. A little bit more. Same over here. And just a little bit more. Yep, still stable. Perfect. It is important that we get this chassis nice and tight and square, because this is the foundation for the rest of the printer, and it will make a big difference down the road. But you don't want the whole thing to be twisted. Okay, that's nice and tight. Okay, perfect. These are the little things that make a big difference on your print quality and getting those first layers down and everything just printing as it should. And we can do this right from the beginning. It takes a little extra time, but now look at that. Now we're nice and stable. We're not wobbling whatsoever. Perfect. All right, now we're at a good starting place. Okay, and then actually, you know, while we're at it, let's tighten this up. Now it does seem like the movement here is nice and easy, and it does look like this bracket is aligned. The belt is actually riding right in the middle, so that's a good sign. This is all lined up here perfectly, which is good. But this definitely has a little bit of wobble on it. And this is very likely that they didn't want to rank down on those and get them fully adjusted, because these may sit in the box for a couple years, and it might actually create a flat spot on that on the wheels, because they're just like urethane. So they may have deliberately not gotten them to where they should be, because it sits for so long in a spot, and you might have a little bump or dent in it. But now we'll go ahead and do that. So at this point, you could flip it over, and I might just do that. Just so you can see what I'm doing here. Now normally I'd just go in and do this underneath, but I'm going to just do this way. Alright. Again, we're going to watch our wires here. We don't want anything to get kinked or bent. Alright. Now, access is not the greatest. And as you're moving this, be careful. The wires do seem to like get all over the place until they're secured. But I can from here. Can you get that on the camera? Yeah. Okay. So let me slide this over. Okay. So these two on this side, the side toward the actual assembly here of the main board, we can actually get in here to tighten these down. So let's do that now. So we're going to tighten up the ones, not the eccentric side. We're going to tighten up these here. These are the ones that are stationary. And where is my? Pull these out. All right, and that's probably this one here. All right, just going to check that out. Actually, there's a little bit loose. So you want to snug these up. You don't want to strip. So you're going to turn. Is that even? Am I even able to get to that other side? There we go, I did go, okay. Okay, nice and tight here. If you feel it spinning, a little technique is just sort of turn it a little quicker and it'll bite a little harder on the other side, because I can feel the other side spinning. But if you kind of just turn it quick, you'll feel it like snug up a little bit, and now it's fine. And I don't know if I can get in here with the wires. Yeah. Actually, no, I'm gonna just. I'm just gonna take a adjustable wrench, and I'm just gonna sort of put it on here and just go ahead and give a little, just to be sure I'm tight. I feel like I got enough on it, but just want to be sure that that's tight. Okay, now this is the eccentric side, and actually that's still just a hair loose. Okay. The ones on this side, the fixed ones, actually if they're a little loose, they actually tend to sort of angle just a little bit when there's pressure on it, and that actual little bit of just 1 degree off could actually make the difference on whether this feels tight or not. So sometimes just tightening these up may get you where you need to be. So like here's the spinning, and then you turn it quick, and now it's locked. Same thing over here. And these I'm just going to go, see like right here, this one. There we go. Actually, I think I might need to get in there. Okay, so let's turn it on its side here, and I'm going to loosen up these bed. Let me just say these bed springs do not look all that exciting. All right, I just want to be able to get in here with my wrench. Okay, now we're not trying to rank down on this side because we do need to have a little bit of ability to turn the eccentric nut, but we do want it a little snugger than these sort of. These are sort of loose from the factory. Okay, so snug but not too tight. Okay, now let's get back here just for a minute. Actually, that I feel like it just barely needs a little bit of adjustment here. That really, just tightening those up actually snugged up where we need to be. All right, so we're going to go in here. The eccentric nut, you're going to take your wrench, that's the sort of fatter side of the wrench there. And we're just going to slightly turn and see which way this goes. And I'm going to sort of just hold this at an angle. I think it's the easiest way to get in here. Okay, I'm going to give it a jiggle. All right, now this back one is perfect. Now this one's actually pretty good too. I feel like it just needed a little tweak. Okay, I don't feel a braking effect here. It's moving smoothly. We don't want to go too tight here. You want it to move freely back and forth. You don't want to feel like it's actually like a little bit of the brakes are on, but it's not jiggling whatsoever. And actually I feel like we're Maybe just a hair back on this one. Yeah, a little better. All right, so we're good. Okay, you gotta watch. Be careful of your wires. All right. All right, so I just wanted to get that done while we were in here because I feel like that's important. Okay. It'll just, once we start getting the uprights in here, it's going to be a little harder to get in here, but that's moving nice and smoothly. It's nice and secure now, and I can probably just tighten down these bed knobs just a little bit. Those springs in there actually look a little, almost look like they're out of a fountain pen. I definitely feel like those could be upgraded, so I'm going to definitely do that. And I actually have a set from my CR10 S5, which I'll throw in here. That'll work great. Okay, but we'll do that later. Okay, so step one. Step one. Let's do the uprights. So that is going to be this block here. Whoa. All right, let's take the Z-rod out. Be careful of that. That is tucked inside there. It's a great place for it, but just be sure you know it's in there. You don't want that to get damaged. This is actually packaged really, really well. I'm just going to get this started. A little bit of machining oil on here, which we're going to have to deal with. And I'm cutting upwards, by the way, just so I don't cut the extrusion at all. All right. There we go. And there's one. And two. All right, we're going to just give this a little wipe down here because there's just a little bit of machining from the from when they were probably putting the threads in here. Okay, that's one. Yeah, nice. Okay. All right, so we're going to need, step one, 4 M545s. So then this is our baggie of parts here. I'll just lay these out here. Those are M525s. Here it is. It should be these 4 long ones. Oh, we don't need that anymore. Alright. So there it is. So the M445s, and there looks like there is 5. So M545s, yep, okay. And I guess we're going to need 4. Okay. Now, that's going to go basically here for these uprights. Now, let's get these in the right position. Does it really describe? Okay, so it's showing one that has a hole in it. 2 holes in it. Okay, so that's this one. And I've actually have this facing you. All right, so there's the board. So facing the board, facing forward, this should be on this side, and the holes are going to be on the inside. So this one is going to go right here. And I assume that that is because that is where the power supply will go. All right, so opposite side of the board. I'm going to do this basically in reverse so you guys can see what's happening. So there, and this is going to go here. Holes are on the inside, right there. Perfect. All right, so let's go ahead and get that one started in. So just tilt here from underneath. Okay, we're just going to get these loosely in here for now. Again, be careful of your wires here. You don't want to inadvertently pinch a wire or kink a wire or something like that, which could have problems later. Oh, it doesn't feel like it wants to thread very well. Okay, so we're just going to just lightly get these in here. Ultimately, we're going to want to tighten this down probably with the top post on, and maybe even check to be sure that we're all nice and square. Okay. Now, ultimately, they should actually sit pretty straight. When they machine cut these aluminum extrusions, you pretty much have a perfect 90-degree angle, and that should help when you rank it down right. And then this one doesn't have anything that differentiates its sides. All right, so that one's going to go here as well. Let's watch out for this lead here. Flip it up this way. All right, and then there's the holes here at the bottom. That is actually going to be for the Z stepper, I'm guessing. And again, for now, we're just going to just lightly get these into place. Now, I do feel that there is a little, you can twist these in this loose position, so there's definitely, we need to adjust that properly. And we want to be sure they're nice and flush here on the edges. Okay. So we're going to do is take the T-square here, and I'm going to use the flat edge to come in here and be sure that we're nice and straight on this. So I'm putting the aluminum there and get it nice and straight, which it is now. So that one's straight. And let's do the same thing, which I don't even know if I can on this one. Maybe over here. Do it this way. Okay, tight, and let's get that nicely straight. Perfect. And then be sure that we're flush over on the sides here. Actually, this one could go in just a little bit. Yep, perfect. Actually, no. Just gonna slide that a little bit more. Yep, and let me just be sure that again, straight. Before I start tightening this down, I want to be sure that every little piece is straight. All right, so basically I'm checking out now. I know that these are actually perfectly straight to each other, and I can tighten these down. I'm going to try not to disrupt them by grabbing the framework down here, and so till it stops, and then just a little bit more. Natural stopping point, and just a little bit more. Just a little tweak here. Wash your wires. Same thing over here. Natural stopping point, and just a little bit more. Natural stopping point. There we go. All right, and just watch everything here. Oh yeah, super tight. Nice. All right, we're looking good. All right, so those are in. Step one. All right, that's step one done. All right, step two. Now, it looks like what we're going to do in step two is we're going to install the control panel, or the display board, and we're going to install the power supply here. All right, so let's get in there. And then it looks like we need a couple fasteners. So it looks like here we have M5/8. Right here, there's a baggie of 4, and these are actually, it looks sort of black in the picture there, but these are actually stainless. So 2 of those. Set those on top. And then we need M420s right here, and those again, those are stainless as well. And that's the little baggie. All right, perfect. Now let's go ahead and let's install let's do the power supply first. All right, so this is that really nice power supply, and it looks like we have a couple mounting screws here on the side, and there are holes as well. And that's just going to basically go here, just like so. And that's going to, again, be the M420s are going to come through here, and they're going to attach to the power supply here. So get them finger tight. And again, this is definitely going toward the back side of the printer. That's where the stepper is. So the stepper here for the Y, this is the back side. And let's get that second one in there. And again, we're just going to get this in loosely to start, and then we'll tighten it down. Okay, and probably want to pull that wiring out of there. Okay, and now go ahead and just try to align it the best you can, get it nice and straight. Alright, same situation. Turn it till it stops, and then just maybe like a 1/16 of a turn more. Touch more here. Okay, perfect. And then let's do the display board, and that's going to go to the front. So that's the display here. It's actually in one of those static proof bags, which is nice. All right, and I would go ahead and leave the protective film on the front here. And that's going to go here. And it looks like there's a couple screws in here to start. Where does this actually hook to? Oh, sorry, it goes over on the side. All right, it's going to go over here, just like so. Perfect. So let's get our nuts there. And let's get that first one started, which is... doing it by hand. Okay, and we're just like that. Be sure I get it nice and straight. Same situation. Just a little bit on that. All right, great. All right, and I believe that's the end of step 2. All right, now we're on step 3, and then it looks like for all we're doing for this step is we're going to be installing the Z end stop sensor, and that's basically in this little baggie here, and it's basically the sensor and the little tiny board there on a little plastic bracket. All right, so interesting to note about these, a couple things about this. For one, we have these T-nuts here, and we're going to put them in this sort of vertical position, pointing upwards, and that way it'll be able to slide into the aluminum extrusion. And you'll also note that there's a little nub here on the end, and that's actually just sort of a stop, a resting place, so we can get this set in properly. So we're going to return these, so in this position, and then when we tighten them down, they'll actually spin, or we want them to spin, to a 90 degree, so they'll be going horizontal. They'll spin like this, and that way it'll come back, and as it tightens up, it'll clamp down on the actual aluminum extrusion. So I'm going to put that in like so, and you can sort of jiggle it. You're going to come down, keep it nicely aligned and straight, and with the Allen key here, you're going to maybe loosen just a little, and you're going to tighten it fast. Turn quick, and you should actually feel it turning, which I did on that one. All right, and then the other one, we'll do the same thing. We're just going to get them snug. Turn, and I can see it turn. I can actually visually see it, but if you need to, you can sort of come in here and just add a little help to it. All right, get it nice and straight. And this, because the actual bracket is plastic, we don't want to go too tight, so we just want to snug it. We're not going to give it that little extra bit of a bite. It doesn't really need it. It's just holding that sensor. All right, perfect. All right, and that's the end of step 3. All right, now step 4, looks like we're going to be installing the Z stepper motor, and that's actually right here. And you'll notice that it already has the plate on here, and the only thing to note here is you want to be sure that this is sitting nice and flush. And I'm going to actually take a straight edge to that because I want to be sure that it's not sticking out. We want to get a nicely flush there. Actually, all right, that it's nice and straight and that's aligned properly, and I think it is. And I'm just going to be sure that that is a little tightened down and snugged. Just maybe get a little bit more. What you don't want here is this sort of sticking out a little bit, in which case this might actually wobble. We want this to be a nice flat edge that's going to go against the aluminum extrusion. All right, that's going to go right over here on this side. And this is also going to require 2 screws, and that is M4 18s, which baggy here, and these are actually little black screws with sort of like a pan head there, or not a pan head. It's going to have that little V notch in them. All right, and I'm going to go lay that here, and there should be 2 holes already pre-threaded for this. Switch the, there we go. Alright, so we're just going to get in here, and we're going to switch through. Again, at this point, we're just going nice and loose. Just trying to get it in. And then where's my other screw? Now, we want to be sure that this is actually sitting nice and straight, so this is a good opportunity again to bring out our T-square here, or square. Not a T-square, but square. And we want to be sure that that's sitting nice. Actually, we probably can just check it by this. We want to be sure that this is aligned properly. And nice and tight. And basically looking at the edge of the aluminum, be sure that's nice and straight. We don't want this tilted in any way. If it's tilted, it'll actually start to bow the Z-rod. And it's really important if you want to have nice straight prints and not get Z-banding. We want to be sure that this is nicely aligned and straight. And we want to snug this down. Remember, that is a plastic bracket, so don't go too tight, but snug. Otherwise, you'll be printing another one. And again, I'm going to confirm that's nice and straight. Yep. Yep, perfect. Okay, super. All right, that's it. And we probably can go ahead and snug up the bottom if it's not already. That seems like it already is. Okay. Good. Be sure we're in there nicely. Perfect. All right, that's nice and tight. Okay. And then I'm going to give this a little spin here using my eye just to see that it's not wobbling, that it's nice and straight when I spin it, and it looks perfectly aligned. All right, great. All right, that's good. And now the Z-rod, we're going to place that inside. And we're going to leave the sleeve on for now. It looks like that's what they're doing in the picture here. So we're just going to basically take it and we're going to just drop it into position. It's going to go right in here. You're just going to have to pull the sleeve a little bit. And that's its alignment there. Perfect. All right. So that is the end of step 4. All right, now we're on step 5. And for this, we're going to need one of these 20 by 20 aluminum extrusions. Now, there are 2 of them here. One of them has 2 holes that are exactly the same on both sides. That's actually the top bracket, and it's actually the shorter version. Okay, so we don't need that one. What we're going to be using is this longer one. And you'll notice that there's one side that has 3 holes that are sort of closer together, and there's one side where the holes are further apart. Now, the ones that are further apart are going to be over, that are going to go onto the side where the power supply is. It's going to go this way. The ones that are closer together are going to go over onto this side with the assembly here. And it's basically going to go right in here, like so, right up on the front. And you'll see that there's 2 holes already pre-aligned for it. And you'll notice there's a little cutout right here. Okay, now that is to actually, it's basically just rounded out so it'll fit over top of that right there without getting in the way. So it's going to go just like so. And we're going to need a couple screws for this. And these are the M416s, which I have right here. All right. And we'll need 2 of those. And the other component we're going to need is we're actually going to need the PTFE tube fitting. And Okay, so the way this is going to go is this should, I'm sorry. All right, so this is going to come in. These screws are going to come in from behind. All right, so just so you know here, I'm going to make a little note here. All right, so they're going to come in from on the back side here through this plate. But let me just show you, there is access on the other side where you'll be able to get your Allen key in there from the back side. So we're going to basically just put one in here for now. We'll take that. And I think this is only going to go one way, so you can't accidentally put this on the wrong side. Or at least not easily. All right, and then we're going to come in from the back side. Through the hole. To just tighten that up. And it is tightening right to the aluminum that's actually already threaded. There we go. And we're not going to crank down on this. We're just going to get it snug for now. What we're going to need to do is we're actually going to need to get this properly adjusted. We're going to need to actually adjust this to get it nice and square. Getting in there a little tricky. And then you can just sort of move it as needed to get it started. Again, we're just lightly snugging it for now. Because see, there's still, even though there is a little bit of movement here, and we want to be sure that we're going to measure this in the future here. We're going to measure this to be sure that this is perfectly aligned. Okay, so just get that nice and snug for now. And the other little thing is we're going to put the PTFE tube fitting on the end here, and that'll go right here. And grab a little wrench here. And again, just snug it. Don't need to crank down on this at all. Just lightly. Okay. All right. That is step 5. All right, step 6. Looks like we're going to put on the bracket for the other side of the X-axis here. But before we do that, we're actually going to have to slide on our actual extruder here. So this is going to be facing towards the front. So the QR code here is going to be facing toward the front. And where it says Ender is going to be facing, let's get this right, facing upward like so. So the 2 wheels here are going to be on the top, and it's going to go just like so. It's going to roll in here like this. All right, just slide it in. And then the bracket assembly is going to go in this configuration like so. So, and again, that little part sticking out here is going to be indented. There's an indentation here. It's going to go right inside there, like so. Okay, so we can just set that down like that. And then we're going to, again, need some of our M416s. We'll need 2 of those. All right, and those will go. All right, so assembly here. Again, that's going to go right here to this position. All right, line it up and just get these finger tight for now. Again, I'm just lightly snugging these for now. This will all need to be adjusted properly before we get started. All right, so there we go. So that's our assembly here, and then actually will basically rest right here, and it'll ride down on the track here like so. Step 7. All right, now it looks like what we're going to be doing is we're going to be installing the pulley or the belt tensioner for the X-axis. All right, and that's basically this bracket here. Now, you'll notice that there are a couple T-nuts on here, and these are actually tight to start with here, so I'm going to just loosen these a little bit. And again, these are the T-nuts that actually, when you tighten them down, they should turn 90 degrees. And we want to be sure, again, that these turn the full 90 degrees and not at a 45. If they sort of end up at an angle, when you tighten them down, you'll actually create little dents on the inside of the track, and it will from that point forward, it'll be really hard to actually get it to fully turn. Okay, so that basically is going to go right here on the end, and it just goes right here, as so. It drops into place, and I'm going to just hold my fingers here to keep it in the center. That'll help the turning, and I'm going to turn it, loosen it a little, and then turn it, and see if I can see right there. It didn't bite. So we're going to do that again. And I can sort of look through here and see that I can visually see in here that it has turned. We'll do the same for this side here. Again, you can get your little Allen key in there if you need to. Yep, so I've got it right. And again, we're just going to lightly tension this at this point. We're not ranking down on this, we're just putting it into place. We'll need to get the belt on before we start to actually do the tension in there. All right, that's the end of step 7. All right, now we're on to step 8, and that is the actually installing of the belt for the X Carriage. All right, and you'll notice on this is actually a 2GT belt. All right, and you'll notice on one side is smooth, and one side actually has teeth on it. And we're going to ride that in here, and it's basically going to go along the carriage here around that bracket we just installed. Here, it's going to come under here, around the tooth pulley on this side, coming underneath, and then it's going to pop up underneath these little marks here. So let's just start off. We'll do it. I'll tell you what, the best way probably would be to go this way. We're going to need to slide this under the wheels, if we can get that there. Yeah, just going to have to maybe roll it just a little bit over it. There we go. Just sort of riding it through the track. It's going to come around the pulley there, and it's going to come up onto the bottom. And then we're going to go through, I'm going to slide this over a little bit, and we're going to slide it inside here. Hold that in place. We're going to slide that in here if we can get it. And we want to get on the top side there. Great. Get this in. And remember, the teeth go onto the pulley, and then we're going to slide back through here. Get this lined up properly. Use your fingers. It is a little tricky to get in here, but the most important part of this is getting it in the right direction. Yeah, I just want to be sure I get it going over the tooth pulley, and it's all going the same direction. All right, and then we're going to let this slack, and we're going to come in here. And the way this works is you're just going to come up, and that little copper part is going to be the part that holds it. So you're just going to slide it underneath the little assembly here. Set this down. So it goes here. That, and then you're going to give it a little pull, and it should be snug there. And then now the pulley is going to come up over here. And come back over here, and again we'll take a look, be sure we're nicely aligned. And again, this is loose still, so we'll be able to free the tension. We're going to come up underneath here, just holding it down, give it a little bend. All right, and we want to be sure that's nice in the center. So I'm getting it straight here in the center, and same over here. We want to get that position, otherwise it'll rub. All right, so that's on, and you can see that is now working, although it is quite loose at this point. But it is moving the stepper. So we're all aligned there. Perfect. All right, that's the end of step 8. All right, now we're on to step 9, and this is where we're actually going to assemble this entire X axis or X carriage here. Now, what we want to note here to start with is we want to be sure that all the lines here are not twisted around too much, and I think that I need to get this a little spin around at least one time here. All right, to get everything nice and straight. And we're going to want to pull the sleeve off of the Z-rod now. And I'm going to just turn this a little bit like this so you guys can see. All right, and this is basically going to go up on here like this. And we're going to Try to line up the wheels here. Okay, we're going to get everything lined up properly. And now, we're at this point, we're looking here at the... Turn this around so you can see that. Okay, so now we've got our wheels basically sitting here. We want to align the Z-rod here, like so, and we're going to just turn that to get it to come down, and we're going to need to be sure we pop here. All right, so get this carriage to come down. And that's great. Actually, it feels really smooth. Okay, but we're not adjusted properly. And again, we want to be sure that we have the twist here. We're not all twisted up improperly here. That's all looking nice and free. Yep, that looks good. All right, and that is basically the end of step 9. I wanted to come in here and interject a little bit about the next step. All right, so step 10 is actually putting on the top brace here. But before we get to that, I do think that we need to spend a little bit more time here on the X-axis and the carriage assembly here. Because in the manual, it basically just, you throw it together and away you go. Well, the thing is, this arm right here is very likely not level. All right, meaning that it's not 100% parallel to the actual chassis of the frame. And this is really important, especially if you want dimensionally accurate prints. Because if you start tilting this X-axis here down a little bit, to compensate and to level the bed, you'll need to sort of go ahead and level the bed, and it'll be angled as well. Now, will it print? Yes. But technically, when you sort of put micrometers on there or test it, you're actually going to see that the tops and bottoms are actually angled. Now, it may be only a degree or two, but to me, I'd like to have it perfect. And it's a very simple procedure here to come in here and adjust that properly. Okay, so what we have to do is we're going to have to remove this upper assembly here. And I'm going to turn this just so it'll be a little easier to see. This. All right, and we're going to take a towel or something like that. We want to protect the bed. We don't want this to crash down on that. So we're going to slide this in here. All right, because we're going to be taking this Z-rod out. Now at this point, it should be just resting in place. So we're going to have to sort of pop that off. And we're going to remove the Z-rod. And you can just slowly let it down, okay? And then you probably got grease on your hands, so go ahead and wipe those off. Or you're going to get grease everywhere. Okay, now, as we left this off, we had this assembly here loose. And you can see that it actually, it tilts, and that's fine. We want to address, first thing is, let's be sure the eccentric nuts and that all the wheels here are tightened up on both sides. And then let's come in, and we're going to try to get this as straight as we can using a ruler. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we're going to put the Z-rod in, we're going to pull it out, we're going to put the upper brace on because that actually does potentially spread these out a little bit before we adjust the eccentric nuts on this side and get this nice and straight and perfectly aligned. Okay, so let's just sort of see where we are right now, and what I'm going to do is I'll turn this back to you. Let's see here. All right, so we're going to basically measure. Using a metric ruler is actually really preferred, and these metal ones actually are nice because they have a little bit more detailed marks. And we're basically going to go to the bottom of the frame, and we're going to measure the carriage here. Now, I'm looking here. The top bar is right at 14. That's actually a good spot. Okay, I'm going to do the same over here. I'm going to come in here. On the nice flat part, we're going to be on the aluminum, and we're going to see here. Now, right now, this carriage is sitting up just a hair high. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to bump it down just a little bit, get it back to 14. I'm going to check over here. And your starting point might be different. Okay, so I should be in a good spot right there. Now what we want to do is we want to go ahead and tighten these up. Okay, so we're going to need to pull this off. We're going to carefully rest it down in here. And we're going to come on the back side and we're going to adjust those 2 screws that we originally put this arm on. Now try not to disrupt it too much. We don't want to throw it out of that measurement there. So we can tighten these up now. And I'm going to tighten these like maybe 3/4 tight. Not all the way in. Okay. The important side here is this side of it, because this is the one that has all the is the leverage for the other side and the alignment. Actually, I forgot. I can come and do that. Okay, there we go. All right, now let's check that again. Okay, and let's just sort of remeasure that and see if we've disrupted it at all. Okay, still at 14. Yeah, so that actually bumped it a little. So I'm going to go get and just get a little arm, a little lift up. So I'm just get a little twist here. Again, we're only 3/4 of tight yet. Let me go ahead and put this Z-rod back in. And this actually feels pretty tight here, but we'll go in and just adjust that. I'm going to go ahead and turn this. We'll get it to 15. Back to 20. And I'm just up about 1 millimeter, so I'm just going to give this a little bit of a pop here just to see if I can get it to move down. Oh, I think we're good here. A little bit of a nudge down. Don't be afraid to spend a few minutes here to get this right. It will go a long way, so your print's being accurate. All right, so I'm right on. All right, now we're going to be really careful when we lift this up, and I'm going to take the Z-rod with it. Just be nice and easy here. I'm going to try to lift from over here. Nice and easy. I'll lay it here, and we're just going to go ahead and tighten these two down, and we're going to snug them up this time. A little tighter. Okay. Careful not to strip these. And be sure your cable is not twisted. And yeah. All right, so I think we're good. Let's confirm it though. Now that we're tightened up. Okay, perfect. Okay. All right, now that we're nice and straight. Now, perfect, we should be good there. Now let's just confirm this again. This is all snug and tight here. Now let's check over here. Let's loosen this up again. At this point, this should be just loose here. And let's confirm that this is tight and snugged up. Let's tighten these. These are the outer wheels. These would be the wheels that are fixed. And this is the eccentric nut here. So these are... Snug it up. Don't have to crank down on it, just when it's a little snugger. Okay. Now let's adjust this. And we should feel... Let's pop this here. Come on. Keep that sitting here. All right, we're going to tighten up this one. This is the eccentric nut, so we're going to go ahead and just tighten that up. Again, we're going to snug it, but not too tight. And actually, this one just goes right there. And actually, it was kind of loose. So, okay. Now, we're going to check for that it rides freely here, and we can adjust the eccentric nut. Too tight. I prefer this to be the other way. Yeah, there's a little too much braking going on over here. Firm, but this is nice and tight. Just a little bit there. There we go. See, I should be able to just turn the wheel, and it's causing the carriage to go up and down. That's a good, we know it's tight enough, but it shouldn't have any dragging effect. Just move back the hair. I think that's just a little bit less. A lot of noise out of this one. Basically going to, I feel the braking, which I feel there, and backing it down. Perfect. Okay. Good. Now we want to get this, now that this is aligned properly, let's double check and put this back in. Oh, let's go ahead. Yeah, let's go ahead and put this back in. Just to hold it up. And let's confirm that we're still straight now that we've adjusted everything. We should be, but... Yep, we're still good. All right, perfect. All right, now that brings us to step 10, and that's actually putting the upper bracket on, or the upper brace. And that, you'll notice on this, there are some that are cut out a little bit more than others. That's actually where the bolt goes. So it's going to go like this. And we will need part number M525. That should be this right here. M525. And we'll need 4 of those. Now we're going to add a little step in here because we're going to eventually, we need to adjust, we still have to tighten this bracket down, but I want to get this in properly first. So now that we know the eccentric nuts and this is riding nice and smooth, we know that we have this portion all squared up. we're going to get this properly aligned, because that, even if it's pushing in just a little bit, that could actually affect how tight we want to make this or the position of this. So we want to get this in now. And then we'll verify that we're nice, still parallel, and then we can move on to the next step. Okay, now for the proper alignment of this, you want to be sure that this is nice and flush. Again, everything here is machined to technical spec, so if we get everything lined up properly, that's a good indicator that we're good. I get lined up here. It says stop, and then just a little bit more. And this just needs a little push over. Be sure we're operating smoothly. Okay, great. Now we want to adjust this bracket here. Now that we know we're in the right position, we can snug this properly. Let's go do this one here. And we can get to these from the back. Basically, I'm just tightening up these two holes here, or two screws. There you go. Didn't want to come out. Actually, I feel like the end of this wrench is slightly stripped. Alright, and let's just sort of, feels good, aligned, perfect. We can do a little, just one more check on the measurement. Oh, perfect. Alright. So we're perfectly aligned. All right, so that step is all done. So we got the frame nicely tightened up. I think we're good. This is an add-on for step 10. This is the 2020 profile covers, and they just sort of pop on the end here. Just to make it look a little nicer. In there nice and tight. All right. Super. All right, now we're on to step 11. We're getting near the end of this. This is really fun. All right, so what we're doing now is we're going to put on the spool holder and bracket. So the way this works is this is not threaded, so it just doesn't unscrew. This actually has a turn and then sort of pops off. So it sort of goes in and then sort of cam locks. All right, so that's going to go, bracket will go this way, and this is going to go in this side. We're going to go in and give it a cam lock, nicely tightened. Perfect, okay? And then we're going to need some of our M5/8. Those are those little stainless steel shorties. And we will need a set of T-nuts. These are M5 type T-nuts. We'll need 2 of those. And these will just go in from the top. And the T-nut goes with the sort of smaller side first. and that'll go about here. Again, you want to turn those to go inside the extrusion, and then we will need a wrench to tighten them down. Try to get that to spin. Looking in there, yep, I can see that it's spun, and watching from the side, and I can see that it's got it turned. All right, get everything aligned nicely. All right. This doesn't need to be really ranked down. Nice and easy. Nice and snug. Perfect. Nice. All right. That's the end of step 11. All right, now we're on to step 12, and that's the final step in at least the instructions here, although I do have a couple little things I'd like to add to this. All right, so step 12. We're going to basically connect up all of the wiring. All right, so let's start off with the main lead here, and I'm going to turn this so you guys can see a little better. Okay. So this main lead here on the back is basically has the extruder, which should be marked by an E. All right, so I'll see that right here. So that just comes in here, and it's going to pop in straight. Again, try to be sure that everything's freely moving here. There's nothing binding. Then we've got the X stepper. It's going to turn in here like so. All right, and then we've got the X. That's going to be the end stop. That's the one that's inside here. And you want to see that there's two little marks, a little groove here, like a U. That's going to be facing the front. That's just going to sort of pop in here. Sort of get it lined up, and then sort of get your fingernail left there. You need to. Just take a little screwdriver or something. Just push in there. All right. Great. All right, that's good. Looking good. It moves freely. Then we're going to come over here to the back side here. There's a little lead just barely popping up here, and this will be for the Z, although the lead looks super tight. Meanwhile, we'll continue on. I'm going to take the power lead here and just try to do some wire organization here. Come up underneath these, and I'll connect to the power supply here. Make sure I'm in the right direction. Get them in nice and seated properly. Perfect. Spin this around. All right, I just want to go ahead and show you how to hook up the display board. So we're going to tip this over, and we've got the fitting here, and we want to go to, if you read the label here, we can see EXP1, EXP2, EXP3. We actually want to put this in EXP3, which is the one that's all the way closest to the bed. Perfect. All right, now let's connect the bowed-in tube. That's the tube right here, the white one, and that's just going to go into the fitting that we put in much earlier. You're going to slide that in till it stops, and then if you go in your little baggie, you're going to find these two little blue clips, or several blue clips. And these just sort of snap into the little groove. You see two little gray portions, and there's a gap in there. That's actually, when it's in the outer position, which is what this pushes it out, that is locked. So that'll keep it from popping out. So it's just going to pop in there like so. And then we'll do the same thing. It's going to go on the front here. Again, be sure that's pushed in nice and seated well. And let's pop that in. Great. And that's it. That's locked. So bowed-in tube's all in, nice set. Perfect. All right, now what we're going to do is go in and adjust the belts on the X-axis here, and because we sort of just had the belt installed and it was laying there sort of loosely. All right, so there's two screws right here. These are for the adjustment. I'm just going to loosen these. All right, and we're going to move the carriage all the way to the left side, and we're going to pull here. Now it's kind of hard to pull and tighten at the same time, so we're just going to take one of our Allen wrenches here, and we're going to put it in here. Now we're not rubbing on the actual the bearing. We're just going to put it up against the nut, and we're going to be very careful. We don't want to scar this or mar it. Going to give a little tension. Okay, so we should feel almost like, hear a little sound out of the belt. Listen. Hear it? Sort of a little bassy sound. A little tension. And we'll tighten this down. Just maybe 3/4. I'm going to go ahead and get this nice and straight. Tilt it down. All right, get it aligned properly. There we go. See how that's moving? See if we have a sound? Hear it? So a little bassy sound? That's good. And let's be sure those eccentric nuts are turned and actually see this one's not. There we go. Again, looking in here, I can actually see that that eccentric nut was sort of like 3/4 of the way turned. Tight. I'll go ahead and I'll check this one, make sure it's good. Okay, see if this moves smoothly. Perfect. Now notice it's actually spiking back a little energy. All right, so this is moving smoothly, and we're getting a little note out of it. All right, let's check the... Let's go down here, I guess. Actually, I don't like how that catches sort of there. Okay, I have to fix that. Okay. And be sure we have a little sound here. That's actually tensioned well. But the way to adjust that is there's 4 screws here. You would tighten it, same technique. Go in here and just sort of put a little pressure. I would use something more like the back of a pair of pliers, and then just sort of come in here and just slightly move it back to get your tension on there right. But that's great. It's aligned nicely. This is moving smoothly. I think we're pretty much ready to wrap up. Okay, so everything looks good. Just go over the system. Everything's tight and secure. Everything's moving freely. All right, what we're going to do now is I'm just going to give it a quick little wipe down. Just getting rid of all the little grease that we got from the Z-rod and clean off this bed because I want to put the nice magnetic sheet, the printing surface on there. And I think we're pretty much done. We'll put some power on it and see if everything's working. Okay, now this is really important, not just for this printer, but for most 3D printers. Most of them come from the factory at a 220, 230 volts. That's most of Europe, China, many places like that. In the US, obviously here we're 120, sometimes 115, sometimes I call it 110. But basically, there's a little red switch on the back of the power supply right here, and we want to switch that before you start powering this thing on. Really important step. You do not want to overlook this. You don't have to have it assembled to do it. You can do it while it's off, but it's really important that this switch actually gets activated, and it's basically put it in there, and it'll be showing the number or the voltage that you are currently running. So in this case, I just pop it down. Now I can see it says 115. That means I'm running at 115 volts, which is exactly what we want. All right, so our Ender 3 Pro is completely assembled. Everything seems tight. All the adjustments, everything's nice and square. I think we're at a good starting point now to go ahead and start this thing. So let's do this. Let's go over and just double check that when we lower the Z-axis, or the X carriage here, that it's not going to crash into the bed. So I'm just going to manually go ahead and lower it by turning the actual stepper. So it's clicking, and I'm just double checking. I'm not touching here. I'm going to slowly bring this back, be sure I'm not dragging. Looks good. We don't want to hit auto home and this thing to crash down. All right, so that looks fine. All right, so we can go ahead and power this up. And we'll throw some heat on here as well. All right, so we're powered up. Everything's looking good. We're going to go to Prepare. Actually, I think in this menu, we're going to go to Control. We're going to go to Temperature. Nozzle. Let's put this at like 200. Let's do 205. This is eSun PLA I'm going to put on here, so let's go to... Yeah, let's do 205. I think that'll be a good starting point. All right, and we'll do the bed. Let's do 50. All right, that sounds good. And while that's warming up now, let's go ahead back up to the menu system and go to Prepare. And we're going to go hit Auto Home. Okay, and while we're in there, we're going to go ahead to menu down to Disable Steppers. All right, I'm going to actually level this bed by eye, and I'm pretty darn good at this, so I'm just going to do this real quick. After you've leveled the bed a couple hundred times, you actually get to the point where you can just eyeball it. Okay, meanwhile, I'm waiting for this to warm. I'm just trying to get a baseline right now. It's real close. That's good. Okay. All right, and oh, man, that heated up really quick. Okay, I like that. Okay, so this is E-Sun filament here. We're gonna go ahead and just use this, something nice and bright, and I'll just turn this so you can sort of see what we're doing here. All right, and so the filament's gonna just feed in through the little hole here. That's kind of like a brass fitting there. Go ahead and just push it in, and we're gonna lightly push here to get this to line in here. We might have to twist it a little. Come on, get in there. There we go. All right, we're just going to put a little release here. We're just going to push on that so we can feed this through. And I'm going to raise this up just a little bit to get that filament going through. And there it is. It is feeding. Perfect. We'll pop that off. All right, and we'll just, for this test print, we'll just do one of the stock files in here. So you're going to have this USB kit here with the micro SD card installed there. These SD cards are pretty much junk. We can use it here for a test print, but ultimately you want to replace this with something a little better quality. But for now, this will be fine. All right, we'll go into the menu system. It's not reading it. Like I said, these are kind of junky. There we go. Okay, you just need to go down to initialize. All right, go down to model, I think. There's a pig, a dog, cat. Let's just do the pig. All right, hit enter. I'm just going to pull that little... Yeah, I think it really slams back, doesn't it? All right, so while this is going, I want to give you my initial impressions of what I think of this printer. So, first off, I think the build quality is actually pretty decent, especially considering this is a $200 printer. I think that's pretty much a bargain. Yep, it's gone. We've got a Meanwhile power supply. That's awesome. Now, there are a couple things here that I think could use a little upgrade or a little bit of improvement. First thing I don't like, the strain relief on the back of these are known to break. They're just not the greatest quality. I think that would be a good 3D print. It'll cost you like 20 cents in filament, nothing big. Go ahead and do that. I also think that a cover for the back of the board here, just in case you reach under there, or maybe your fingers are wet, or maybe you're drinking a soda and you touch it, or you spill a drink, I think that electronics there could be covered up. I think it's probably a really easy print as well. So I would definitely do that. Like I said, the strain relief I think would be worth doing. Overall, I feel like it's pretty solid. I can't really think of anything else off the top of my head that maybe need adjustment. I feel, oh yeah, definitely a little bit of maybe something for some cable management in the back here, maybe just something that would clip on to the aluminum extrusion might help just sort of keep those all the cables a little lined up. And definitely this down here, I feel like the cable going to the display here, that definitely needs something that can you just hold it back and keep it from just flopping around. One of the real benefits of this Ender that I like is that you can pretty much just pick the whole thing up and move it really easily. It's all self-contained, again, except for I think getting some of this cable management down. Yeah, other than that, I think it's great. And looks like we've got a pretty good bed adhesion already. It's definitely doing a raft, which is pretty standard for first print. Yeah, it's looking good. All right, so we'll check back with you in just a few moments, and we'll wrap this video up. All right, so I wanted to end this video with just a little wrap up and my overall thoughts of this 3D printer and the build process. Okay, so overall, I think this is a super amazing printer, and at a $200 price point, really, really amazing bargain. I mean, probably the best bang for the buck for an entry-level printer that is capable of really high-quality prints. This printer, tuned properly, can literally rival several $1,000 printers with just spending that time getting it all adjusted, especially this Carriage here. I know we spent a little time there, and people don't really go into that, but really, that's really important if you want these super accurate prints. I mean, look, this was the stock G code off that SD card, and look how nice that came out. I mean, there's no Z-banding whatsoever. The layer lines are amazingly consistent. I had just a couple strands of stringing here that literally just wiped off like that. This was just amazing. But I did have a problem. I was going to print the dog and a couple other ones as well, but that stock SD card, remember I said they're junk? Well, that failed. I actually ran out this morning and got a couple SD cards. This one's for this printer, and this one will be for that V2, which we're going to get to next week. And I'm going to try to shoot that in a totally different video style. This video, I actually just videoed as I would normally assemble the printer if it were just me by myself, and talking to it a little bit, of course. But overall, I just did it. Now I know the assembly process and what's needed for this particular printer. So when I do that V2, I should be able to just get the camera in there and just wham bam it out. A little shorter, well, definitely a lot shorter, but more to the point. Hit here, adjust here, turn that, and how to do it. So I'm going to do that on an upcoming video. Also, I'm going to do a whole video on tuning your Cura settings for this printer. So we know that this thing is capable of amazing prints, and it's a matter of what you do to that. You know, to what settings you're going to need to do in Cura to get that. And I'm going to go through the whole process. I'm going to work on the retraction. The stock retractions are okay. I did do a test tower, the little four square tower, and it's okay. But I definitely feel like I can dial that in. On my other printers, after I've dialed it in, I get like zero stringing, none. Or if I do, it's just like a hair that I can just go, and it's gone. So yeah, really, really minor. So I think we can do that. I also want to do a video on just some recommended prints to fix this up. Nothing major here, nothing major mechanical, but like the wire strain relief, I feel like this could be upgraded. I feel like this needs something here to keep the filament from touching the lead screw there. I think it needs a cover here, something for some wire management. Yeah, basically no cost or very low cost upgrades for this to just enhance reliability and usability. Yeah, so I hope you enjoyed this video. It has been a lot of fun. I do think this is a really great value in a printer right now, especially at $200. I mean, you can't touch it. I mean, this printer is in like many printer farms. There's rows of Enders just printing out all day long. So we know it's capable of doing what you want to do. It's just about really spending the time and getting it adjusted properly. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. This was actually my second video on this channel. I would really appreciate some likes and subscribes. It actually is going to motivate me that people are watching what I'm doing, and not only they're watching it, but they're actually liking what I'm doing, and I'll continue to do more. I do like helping out people. I'm on most of the message boards for Enders, Creality, Tornado, all of the, I mean, literally the S5s. I'm on probably like 8 or 10 forums. I'm constantly giving advice. I've done many video chats and FaceTimes with people having problems where they're holding their camera up to the printer. I'm like, shake this, adjust that, and helping them dial it in and get their printer printing better or getting to print at all. And I have noticed over the years several of the same problems over and over and over again. It's almost always the eccentric. It's almost always something is floppy or not adjusted properly. Anyways, that's it. I hope you enjoyed it. Like and subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next video. And until then, keep 3D printing.